FBI leadership threatened other FBI agents who had some problems with the January 6 investigations. Now, we've talked about these investigations for a long time. January 6 Select Committee, the DOJ, Matthew Graves, all of the other U.S. attorneys who've been hyperventilating over January 6 since it happened without really inquiring as to who else was involved or maybe where some of the undercover informants could have contributed to what we saw happen that day. All of that stuff got forgotten. But now we've got a new whistleblower who sent a letter over to Congress about this guy, Paul Abbate, deputy director at the FBI. And we have a clip of him being very nasty with Congress because he doesn't like Congress. He thinks, I am a deputy director at the FBI. I can do whatever the hell I want. So Wikipedia tells us more about this fella. He's been there his entire career. 1996. Oh gosh, get a real job. He was assigned to the New York City field office where he worked in the criminal division, served as a member of the SWAT team, went to Iraq. Then after President Trump's dismissal of Comey, he was considered for the role of FBI director. Gosh, what a disaster. He was named associate deputy director of the FBI, succeeded by a number of people, and that's a little bit of background from him. So he was in office when Trump was there. He assumed office as the deputy director under Joe Biden, and we remember him from this show previously where he was getting nasty with Senator Blackburn and others because he says, how dare you impugn the integrity of the FBI? And this is a question about the Biden crime docs, which of course we know the FBI was working with the DOJ to cover up.
You said in your response to Senator Cruz that you and the FBI do your job to the best of your ability. So why don't you tell me what your job is? Is it to defend and shield Joe Biden, or is your job to protect this country and the Constitution of the United States?
Defend and shield Joe Biden.
The job of the FBI is to protect the country, keep people safe, and uphold the Constitution of our great country.
Yeah, right. Yeah, unless you're protecting the country from tax crimes by Joe and Hunter.
So
Period. That's what we work to do every day. Objectively, there are not two standards of justice. There is only one. It's applied equally to each.
Are you on crack here, Paul? Are you hitting that pipe with Hunter? Did you know that your agency was involved in slow walking, very credible, highly desired investigation by your own agents?
And by perception, there are two standards, very clear standards of justice in this country. We see it every single day. The American people see this every single day. They look at you and they see a politicized entity that is weaponizing an agency of the federal government against the American people.
That is not the FBI that I see, Senator.
That is not the FBI you see. There are a lot of good people that work for the FBI, but you have a political cabal there. So why did you decide to conceal the information in that revelation to the House Oversight Committee? Why did you redact all of that pertaining to the phone calls?
We have exceptional people within the FBI.
You're not answering the question. Why did you redact that information?
And they work relentlessly every day to keep this country safe and to protect people.
You chose not to reveal that the calls were there, and Senator Grassley found it out anyway. Is that accurate?
With regard to the document,
you chose to redact it, yes or no?
We often redact documents to protect sources and methods.
So you chose to redact the fact that there are 17 voice recordings, 2 of those with the now president. You chose to redact that and not to give that to House Oversight.
I have no idea if there are voice recordings or not. What I will tell you with respect to the document, the document was redacted to protect the source, as everyone knows.
Yes,
well, then
this is a question of life
My
and death,
time has
potentially.
expired, but I think it would be helpful if when you came before us, if you were willing to answer the questions, it would help to remove the perception that the American people have, because this is what they see. They see you do it every day, and that is politicizing the FBI and using it against the American people who don't happen to be named Biden, Clinton, or one of the elites.
Shout out to Mrs. Blackburn there. So that is who we're talking about. That's Paul Abbate, and he is a current FBI deputy director. Kind of a nasty guy, doesn't really like Congress asking him questions about what he's doing to wreck America. And we now know that there were a couple letters that went out to Congress specifically calling this guy out for threatening employees who questioned January 6 investigations being conducted by the FBI. This letter comes from Empower Oversight, which works with whistleblowers and research. It goes over to Congress via electronic transmission to Jim Jordan, chairman, along with Durbin, Graham. We've got Wyden, Grassley, and Jerry Nadler the Waddler. Here's what the whistleblower says. He says, "Dear Chairman and ranking members, recently Empower Oversight obtained the attached affidavit from a federal FBI employee who wishes to remain anonymous for fear of suffering retaliation." We've got a whistleblower now. This guy is an FBI agent. He says the affiant, the guy who wrote the affidavit we'll look at, heard FBI Director Paul Abbate, the guy that we just heard, communicate a threat to all FBI personnel in a video teleconference in February 2021. Abbate had heard that some employees were contrasting the FBI's response to January 6 with its failure to protect federal personnel and property, or to aggressively investigate interstate conspiracies and resulting damage during civil unrest and the murder of Floyd. They're saying, wow, some of the good FBI agents out there, shout out to those smart and good-looking FBI agents, they say this January 6 investigation feels like it's getting a lot more gasoline than what we got for George Floyd. And George Floyd, as we know, was dramatically worse, a lot more deaths and billions of dollars in damage versus like $2.5 million for the Capitol. Not even at the same scale. Right? One is like, 5 deaths versus, I think, 105 deaths. One is $2.5 million versus $2.5 billion. But the entire DOJ and FBI didn't revert themselves into a new entity for the sole purpose of George Floyd unrest. In fact, Kamala Harris was posting on her Twitter account to get people out of custody who were being held in bail. So FBI agents were noticing this. They're going, wow, this is strange. It feels like it might be political. So after defending the FBI's disparate treatment of the two events, saying there's no double standard here. Okay, that was racial justice, man. And this is white supremacy insurrectionists. So they're not the same, even though one was $2.5 billion and 100 deaths versus $2.5 million and 5 deaths. Told the audience that anyone who questions the FBI's response or his decisions regarding the response did not belong in the FBI, and you should find a different job if you don't agree with this. Furthermore, Abbate told all special agents in charge, if they had an employee that did not agree with what we're doing here, the special agent in charge could have that employee call him personally, and he would set them straight. That guy, that really agitated, ornery guy. Don't ask me questions, Martha. So you tell them to call me, and I'll explain to them. Insurrection. So the affiant, this FBI employee, had observed hundreds of teleconferences with senior FBI officials, but had never seen a direct threat like that at any other time. Abbate's choice of words, that any employee who disagrees, quote, should find a different job, is consistent with what other Empower Oversight clients have experienced. For example, an FBI manager essentially parroted Abbate when then Special Agent Stephen Friend questioned his division's handling of the J6 investigations. The affiant believes that the retaliation suffered by the FBI whistleblowers suggests that Abbate and others made good on his threat. You were actually fired. Abbate's threats to employees was witnessed by numerous other FBI employees, and this constitutes evidence of intent to retaliate. This evidence is relevant to other administrative proceedings, not merely those with our clients. This can be corroborated by dozens, if not hundreds, of other FBI employees if Congress looks into it. They say FBI regularly retaliates against employees for expressing concerns. Now, if they belong to any other federal law enforcement agency, they would have more effective remedies. But at the FBI, legally protected disclosures are not protected. The vast majority of FBI employees don't have the same civil service protections as other federal employees to obtain review of actions taken against them in retaliation. This lawyer says Abbate and FBI managers following his lead are quite capable of carrying out his threat to purge dissenters, and they can remove security clearances. This unreviewable authority to immediately and indefinitely remove an employee's livelihood is an open invitation for abuse, forcing whistleblowers to choose between depleting their savings, relying on charity, or resigning. Moreover, by abusing the security clearance process, so you don't even have to fire somebody. You just say, well, you just lost your security clearance. Well, I can't get into the building without it. Well, that sucks, I guess. That sucks for you. Oh, man. Yeah, so the FBI is capable of doing so en masse with virtually no accountability. It's like, no, we didn't fire them. We didn't retaliate. We just removed their security clearance, which is precisely what appears to be happening. Anecdotal evidence in our experience representing whistleblowers from the FBI suggests that serious scrutiny of the FBI security division would reveal not only a dramatic uptick in the number of employees targeted, but an utter lack of professionalism. We know, for example, that the letter sent by Acting Assistant Director Christopher Dunham, May 17, 2020, 2023, promptly linked to the press, contain numerous false claims about our client, Marcus Abbate. The FBI has offered zero evidence. Conclusory assertions say that those days are gone. The public has more reasons to lose trust in the integrity of the FBI. They say the FBI is not a private club for FBI executives to make in their own image. It is an extremely important agency that is supposed to enforce the law without prejudice. And we respectfully request you independently corroborate these threats made by Abbate with other witnesses and hold Director Abbate accountable. Cordially yours, Tristan Levitt, who is writing on behalf of Empower Oversight, whistleblowers who are revealing that Deputy Director Paul Abbate, this guy right here, threatening agents, saying you are removed from the FBI if you dare challenge what we're doing.